Well, a New York jury has found Donald Trump guilty of all 34 charges related to a scheme to illegally influence the 2016 election through a hush money payment to a porn star. This makes Trump the first former American president to be convicted of felony crimes. The verdict was delivered after over 9 hours of deliberations, and Trump has called the trial rigged and disgraceful. As it is now, sentencing is set for July 11, just before the Republican National Convention, where Trump is expected to be formally nominated as the GOP candidate. This verdict presents voters with another test of their willingness to accept Trump's behavior as he seeks to reclaim the White House. We're joined this morning by a public commentator and a very active member of the Jamaican diaspora, Dr. Karren Dunkley, who is our very special guest at this time. Good morning, Dr. Dunkley. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning to you, Richie B., and your listeners. Grand rising.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate your time and I'm sure your thoughts. This is a development that, would you say, Doc, that you were expecting, or were you surprised at the verdicts that were handed down?
Both. I think so. Certainly, this is historic. We've never in the history of the United States, and myself being a student of history, academically, certainly, and personally, that this is historic to see either a former or a sitting president being convicted of a crime, right? And so did I expect it? I think once, because we must remember that Trump also has several lawsuits pending in Georgia and Florida, which seem to have been delayed in court. And so we knew that when it came to the falsification of the records, the business, that this was not unexpected, because they approached it from the falsification of business documents, which is very different from some of the other lawsuits underway.
Mm-hmm. What implications would you say that this verdict might have for Trump's presidential campaign and the Republican Party as a whole?
The facts are stubborn. So what we do know is that the majority of Trump supporters are even more energized, Richie V, and they have vowed, similar to Trump, that the true verdict will be rendered on Election Day in November 2024. And I think that it behooves all of us, when we recall the 2016 election, to take that seriously. I happen to work across the country, and I can share with your listeners that in the states where Trump reigns supreme, his base is extremely energized. I think he has raised over, is it 30 million?
No,
since the verdict?
I think it's more than that.
Is it 30 or 50? Really very high numbers.
I think it's 80.
Astronomical figures.
I think it's like 80 million, that based on my reading recently. Yes.
There we go. And this has been the best fundraiser for him yet. So I think in terms of what it portends, people have said to the Democrats, listen, do not take this as a signal. Do not take this as a sign that you can breathe, because America is at an interesting juncture. If you look at the candidates for this election cycle, people are saying no better herring, no better barrel, right? And for many different reasons. Some people believe that Biden, even if he holds the moral authority, that he has not delivered on the promises coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, that they have not delivered on a lot of the economic security that they have promised to individuals. Some are saying, but he has, right? The Bidenomics, they call it. But I would say that we all have to watch this election, and I can tell you, Biden has been to, I live in Philadelphia, and he has been to Philadelphia 4 or 5 times, because in 2016, Trump carried the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And it's very important for cities like Philadelphia that can swing entire states to come out to vote in order for Biden to be victorious.
Don't you see some potential legal consequences though coming out of this verdict and sentencing, which is due in another couple of weeks?
No, I do not. And based on the pundits, but also based on people who have a sense of American history, they see this as political theater. Lots of cynicism, 34 counts, 11 counts for legal services, 11 counts for the checks that were paid, and 12 counts for the entries into the legal expenses to disguise this payment to Stormy. And what people are saying is there really will be no consequences. Come July 11th, it's 4 days out from the Republican National Convention, and they just believe it's a white-collar crime. Trump is, after all, a white male in the United States justice system, that this is just political fodder. It's just political theater, and that he may, in fact, get probation. And Trump, being as media savvy as he is, has been milking and leveraging this entire trial to gain even more notoriety. His popularity has not decreased. The numbers in terms of his unfavorability ratings have not increased. And so we would only caution those who are panting with bated breath to really make sure that they're paying attention to the numbers, because the facts are stubborn.
Speaking of the Republican National Convention, which is coming up soon, do you think that this verdict will play any role whatsoever in shaping that convention and the party's nomination process?
Well, Trump is indeed the presumptive nominee. Here's what has happened. Trump has already co-opted the Republican Party. He has co-opted the Republican Party because you have sound-minded and well-thinking, once-upon-a-time individuals who now, like Trump, are saying that the American legal system is a disgrace, when we in the United States have always held the American legal and the justice system as a final standard, the final arbiter of truth. So that is indeed problematic, that you have a former president saying that we can no longer trust the justice system. But coupled with what is happening, there is no groupthink within the Republican Party. If you really look at the dynamics, Richie B, where those who do not come out against this verdict, it's a defining moment. They're saying that their careers will be politically dead because they must align to Trump. So Trump is proven to be Gestapo-like. He's proven to be extremely rigid in his rule, and they have even described it as a civil war moment for the Republican Party. There is a moderate Republican, his name is Hogan. He is running in Maryland, and he came out and say, hey, to the United States, and I'm paraphrasing here, these are not his verbatim words, but let us respect the rule of law. And the high-ranking Republican official said, look, if you do not come out on the side of Trump, you will be politically dead. It's political suicide. So no, I think the only thing that it will serve to do for the Republican National when they get to their convention for RNC 2024 is to energize them, is to have them even spew this rhetoric that the American legal system is completely upside down, which, by the way, Richard B., they have launched a flag. United States American flag will now fly upside down as a parody, as a symbol of what they believe that this trial is proving the American justice system to be upside down.
Wow. Should he become president after the elections? Do you think that this verdict will in any way impact negatively his public image or even his standing on the world stage?
I think Trump has managed to do what we have not seen in modern times, and it could be with the advent of social media and the internet, and just there are two things happening, right? So it's a dichotomy. On one hand, if he is and were to win, I think globally, people might say, wow, how could the United States elect a Donald Trump? But if you look what is happening across the world in terms of democracies and democratic governments, there is a waning of the public away from being the moral authority because Richie B., what the public is saying is that Donald Trump is real, that he says the things that need to be said. He may not say them eloquently, but he's not a pretender. He's a truth teller. Now, let us say again, the facts are stubborn. Trump's approval and his support among Black or African American, which would include Caribbean because they do not nuance us in these demographics, has actually increased this election cycle. So no, I do not believe. I think there's a part of society that says they're tired of the same old, that they don't have anything to show from the platitudes and the moralists. And so they want a Donald Trump who is irreverent, who is extremely unorthodox, because they believe that with this style, they're able to get more in terms of government.
So you actually believe then, would you say, Dr. Dunkley, that this verdict might in fact positively impact the messaging of the Republican Party as they go to the election? They might use it as a fillip?
Oh, yes, and they have. And they're beginning to say this is why you need a Trump, to make sure that here is it. You bingo. If the former president can become a victim of this travesty of justice, then you too, Mr. and Mrs. America, the American individual, this too can happen to you. And this is why we need Donald Trump to prevent it from happening. And that's what they have continued to hammer. So remember that they are playing. There's a lot of fear here, right? And there's also hate here. This is the most hateful that we have certainly seen the United States of America.
I want to look way down the line now and ask the question, how do you think that this verdict will be remembered in the context of American political history?
I think that, so when I think about former presidents, so we know that Bill Clinton had an incident, correct?
Yes.
Where they sanctioned him. He was impeached for lying about what they perceived to be a sexual encounter. Then we have Richard Nixon. He was also impeached for illegally wiretapping. And so when you look at history tends to be kind to even the most despot of leaders. You had a president who was just quite a noble person in the President McCarthy and Jimmy Carter, pardon me. And it was kind to him as well, right? Even though within his day, he was a one-term president. So I think historically, it is unprecedented. I think America, they say 2024 is the year of reckoning, and all lies will be revealed and all truths will be told. And I think that America, it's in its reckoning. And as James Baldwin said, he said that God gave Noah a rainbow sign, but it will be the fire next time. And I think we're in the fire now. This is our year of reckoning. In America, as in Jamaica. Jamaica, too, should be coming into its own reckoning as it will embark on its political elections for national government.
That's right. I thought I really enjoyed this conversation with you this morning, Dr. Karren Dunkley. I thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us, and we wish you a wonderful day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Richard B., and we'll stand by.
Most definitely.
Take care.
All right. That's Dr. Karren Dunkley, a public commentator and, of course, a very active member, as we mentioned, of the Jamaican diaspora, or very special guest in the Big Story segment right here on the Richard B. Morning Show.